Hey guys, this is Max Headspace 9mm, and I want to do a review of one of the very first red dot sights that I ever got. This is a Sightmark reflex sight, and I've had this on just about every firearm that I own that has a pick rail. This thing is really versatile and I love it. It's actually designed to look and work a little bit like an EOTech. It's pretty clear that Sightmark wanted to provide a low-cost alternative to an EOTech. EOTechs run, for this one was about $550, $600, and this one is right around $100 when I bought it. Now there's a new model out with a lot of improvements over this one. So I'm going to tell you about my experience with this, and I'm going to tell you about how I'm really glad that they made some improvements, because there's some things I'd never liked about it that they've actually listened to the consumer and have changed. So the great thing about this thing is its versatility. This thing works for a shotgun, it works for a rifle, and it even works for pistols. I've had it on some of my pistols before, and it works pretty well for that. I didn't mount it to the top of the slide, I mounted it onto a rail mount that went over the slide, and the slide reciprocated underneath. But basically, it has a quick detach mount cam lock, and that makes it really easy to take on and off of any firearm you want. And the really cool thing about this is I have never had a problem with this losing zero. For some reason, I'm really fortunate. All of my firearms that have Picatinny rails mounted to them have those rails mounted really well lined up with the bore. And so when I put this on, I have zeroed it one time. I have never zeroed it since then, and it has held zero. And it is very, very accurate. It allows me to shoot very accurately. And that's important. That's pretty much what I want a sight to do. I don't think I shoot the EOTech any more accurately than this Sightmark. So that's not really the difference. I mean, this is a hollow sight. This is a reflex sight. But the thing about this that I really like, besides the fact that it's cheaper, I like the fact that it's easy to put on and take off. If I'm going shooting, I can just throw this in my bag and put it on whatever firearm I want to use if I don't need magnification. So it's a lot of fun that way. It's easy to put on and take off. And one of the things about this that's kind of funny, kind of a funny story, I had this on my AK, my hot rod AK that you've seen before in some of my videos. And that thing has an aluminum gas tube with a rail on it, machined in, milled in. And I had this on there. Now, one of the weaknesses of this is it's not going to hold up against heat near as well as the EOTech. The EOTech is basically a really tough design, designed for military and law enforcement. They make these for the purpose of going underwater and surviving a tremendous amount of heat. They're also designed to be able to work with infrared optics. But the civilian shooter doesn't really need all those features, so most of the time. I don't anyway. And so this is a great low-cost alternative. Well, I had this on my hot rod AK with the aluminum gas tube Picatinny rail, and I was using it to shoot. And it's perfect for that. But I forgot that I had this on and not this. And so I started bump firing just for fun. And I dumped a mag or two through it, and it started to get really hot and smoking. And then I realized, oops, I've got this on here instead of this. Now, if this were on there, I wouldn't think a thing about it. I'd leave it on. But I realized this thing would probably get torched in no time at all. So I flipped it, and I took it off. And, the fact that it can be removed so easily without tools was a great help in that situation. Okay, here's what I love about this. It has, like the EOTech, an aluminum shield over the top of the window. And like the EOTech, it has a similar size window to look into. I really like that. You can easily acquire your target by looking into this because it has a really large window. Some of these optics have a really tiny little window and a heavy frame around it. And it's really hard to find looking through that tiny little window, finding the red dot, and then picking out whatever your target is not so easy with some of those. I love the big window. So that's what I love. I love this mount, quick mount. I love the fact that it has a variety of different, I'm going to turn it on so you can see the reticle. You basically push the button and you wait for the reticle to come on. It has a variety of reticles here. It has a kind of an interesting one here that is a circle dot with kind of a crosshairs. It has this one which is a crosshairs. It has a circle dot just like the EOTech. And if you go all the way back over, you're back to the beginning again. I think it has a simple dot right there too. So you've got 4 different reticles to choose from. I like that. Like I said, it's easy to zero and it holds 0 no matter how many times you take it off or put it on. I think that's it for the things I like about it. And it's pretty rugged. Here's the things I hate about it, and I always have, but I put up with them because of the price point. Right here is how you get into the battery compartment. You basically, I don't know if you can see, there you go. You can use a penny to open this up or a screwdriver. And when you open it up, the batteries that it takes are these little tiny hearing aid batteries. These are not cheap, and it takes 4 of them, or no, 3 of them. Now, getting 3 of those things, they're almost round. So when you try to get them into this opening, it's almost impossible to get them to not flip over and go in crooked. And if they do, of course, you got to dump them out and start over again. Here is, I don't know if you can see this, but there's the batteries inside of there. It is, see what happened? It's sideways. They just want to do that. You have to do something like basically balance all of the batteries, one on top of the other, in a stack, and then lower the sight over the top of that stack of batteries to feed this thing. And that really stinks. It is not something you want to do in the field if you have to. And this thing, once you run out of battery, it has this annoying habit of basically shutting off on you. And the lower the battery power gets, the quicker it shuts off after you turn it on. So you could be using it and it'll go off when you need it. I will be honest with you about this. I realistically get 6 to 8 hours of run time with this on those crummy little batteries. And that's not good. That's a very expensive sight when you think about it. The thing I really love about the EOTech is it takes regular AAA batteries. They're cheap, easy to find, no problem at all. So that's the thing I always wished was different about this. Why can't they make this sight that uses a really common battery that'll give you more runtime? Well, the new sight, the new version of this, they fixed that problem. It has 2 different color reticles. You can choose between red and green. And the most amazing thing of all, they kept the price the same as I paid for it 8 years ago. So I'm going to go out and get one of those and upgrade. I will probably never use this again after I buy that new one because it's just so superior in that way. With a CR123A battery, the new one, it'll run for 1,000 hours on that battery. With this one, if I wasn't actually in the act of shooting, I would shut it off because I knew I didn't have a lot of run time on those batteries. And that kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it, having to watch your red dot sight. So if you want an EOTech, get an EOTech. They're fantastic. They're rugged. I never have to worry about this thing. Shock proof. It'll do anything I want. And it runs on cheap batteries and it gives me a lot of run time. I actually think I've got these batteries, I've had these batteries in here for about 3 years now. So this is fantastic. But if you don't have quite that much money, the Sightmark is a fantastic red dot sight. And now that they've made the improvements, I highly recommend you look into this. For 1/5 the money of the EOTech, it's really a pretty nice sight, especially now. This is Max Headspace 9mm. Have a good one.